Wonder Soul. Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome to another episode of Wonder Soul. Just wanted to record this quick little intro for you guys to let you guys know what to expect from this episode. I had Justin, or if you would watch him on Twitch, goes by JRatt. Check him out. Dude is a amazing streamer and just a overall awesome dude to talk to. We had a conversation about Xbox, modern gaming, wrestling, and so much more. It was a blast. It was a real good time. So be sure to check out his channels here in the description of this episode. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you guys for taking time to listen to this podcast. If you feel like it and you enjoy this episode and want to listen to more, go ahead and check out the rest of the catalog, and also check out Wonder Soul on your socials, whether that's Instagram or Twitter. Other than that, hope you guys are doing well. Thank you, and enjoy this episode with JRatt. I guess we can just kind of go into gaming and stuff, man. What have you been playing like recently?
So right now on stream, I've been doing a lot. So I've been playing a lot of Persona 3 Reload.
Oh, how's that?
Like that. So I played probably 80% of Persona 3. Originally, I burnt myself out on it a little bit, and it's like the game's from like 2008. You know what I mean? So it definitely shows its age in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
This remake is unbelievable.
Really?
If this is the direction, because Persona 5, I mean, everybody's kind of seen that game at this point. I feel like, I mean, and that was a stunner in every way. And if this is an indication of like the direction we're going toward, graphically at least, for like Persona 6, God forbid whenever that happens, get ready for another banger, because like this is unbelievable. The quality of life changes are everything you could want. It's actually really accessible, I think, for like original Persona 3. Original Persona 3 was so weird that you had a 4-person party and you did not control your party members. You just controlled you, and you could give like vague direction to the other party members, which has its own charm, and I kind of liked initially, but like when this party member keeps trying to spam a status move that I do not want you using, like
you can't do anything.
You know, you're ready to go crazy. Whereas here you can switch that on and off. You can control them like normal, and like, again, just visually stunning. They did everything right. They changed all the voice actors too, which I was a little scared about, but everybody nailed it.
It's good.
It's a 10 out of 10. I mean, this game's phenomenal.
What made them do that? Why did they change the voice actors?
So there's one VA from like the main party cast who did some uncouth thdon't we'll say, in the time since P3. So they were always going to change him. And I don't know. I feel like I think Atlas looked at this as its own standalone entity more than like, oh, we're just pulling from the past. And they also did work. They did something that Persona 5 did not do. I hate to do the comparisons. People in Persona
go for it.
But like, it's what the common person kind of equates.
Yeah.
But like, without going too deep in the weeds, a lot of the like major NPCs, you establish what's called a social link with them, and you have like the more you hang out with them, the stronger the bond gets with them, and that gives you some power-ups and stuff. And there's a total of 10 basically links for every one of these NPCs, so like 10 hangouts. In Persona 5, they only voice acted the first and the last one, and now they voice acted all of them, which I think adds so much from a storytelling perspective, from a like just getting to feel the character a little more, which like this game is so much about it's so character driven. I think that does so much, and that helps a lot.
Well, like you kind of bring up this like idea of like the importance of voice acting. Like you're wearing a like a
Heck yeah.
Hyrule hat, right? So is
You
that right?
betcha.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think we can both agree, like in Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, having those cinematic scenes, those the voice actors bringing some of these characters to life, really kind of brings something to a game that
Mhm.
primarily you're just reading a lot more text. And I know Nintendo, especially like something like Pokemon, something that people have been like wondering why isn't there more voice acting in Pokemon? And I don't know, like
Sure.
I I'm sitting here thinking like, dude, I mean, I think just if you're someone who grew up with those games on Game Boy Color, and all that, and you're just used to just reading the text, and then if you're playing them handheld, you kind of have it in your head like, I'm used to this. It's what it's like to me. But man,
Mhm.
like you said, it having voice acting can just bring out a whole other level to the experience that you're having with these characters, these stories, these environments, and everything. And I mean,
Mhm.
you get attached to voice actors and like their portrayal of like some of these like characters, like that's why there's that whole sub and dub kind of like argument out there. I think it's just interesting, and
Sure.
that's really cool that like they went back and addressed that, because didn't
Mhm.
Persona 3 originally come out on the PSP or something
So
like
there was a
that?
version there was one version that came out on the
Oh,
PSP.
okay.
Atlas does this thing where like they'll release a Persona game and
Mm,
then they'll do like a definitive edition later. And for 3, they did the definitive edition and then they also did a portable version.
mm,
Which like took out some of the like tedious running around the worlds kind of a
yeah,
thing. It was a little more text driven. Obviously still had the voice acting and stuff, but
yeah,
like you know, they had to condense it a little bit for the PSP. But
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah, they did do that.
Yeah, I know it's available on Game Pass. I think Microsoft
Yep.
has like really tried to like get cool with Atlas. So like, yeah.
Which is hilarious, but
You think it's working? You think like, because everybody always says how Microsoft has such a issue over the years of connecting with Eastern companies and getting good relationships with like Square
mhm.
Enix and them, or a bunch of other companies and developers to bring their games over to Xbox. I think that's why Nintendo and Sony always find like certain titles, like a lot of JRPGs and turn-based combat
Mhm.
games, stuff like that. You know, but it's funny that they reached out to well, isn't Atlas part of Sega or
Atlas
something?
is a Sega. Yeah, they're under the Sega
Gotcha.
banner. Yeah. It's like I'll be honest, it was really jarring whenever a new trailer would come out for this game, and I had to hear the Xbox whoa
Mm.
at the beginning of it every time.
Yeah.
Because that's like,
Yeah.
I mean, until 2020, Persona games never touched anything but a PlayStation console.
Right.
Persona 5 was only on PlayStation consoles. The 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 uh the breaking of the seal, if you will, was a random drop of Persona 4 Golden, which is like that one's definitive edition.
Hmm.
They dropped that on Steam like 2 months after the pandemic started. Which
Oh,
was like to no fanfare. They didn't like it was like a shadow drop
yeah.
basically. And everybody went, "Oh my god, we can have these games on other consoles now." And then all of us and then, last year obviously Xbox got them all. The Switch has I think just about all of them.
Yeah, I think they do.
Um I'm hoping that's what they do for Persona 6. They still kept some exclusivity on some of their like spin-off titles
Hmm.
recently, so I'm kind of hoping P6 they just say, "Here, everybody have it."
Right.
Um but yeah, in terms of like Microsoft like I think that's not a bad one to do.
Right.
It's just like in terms of the RPG genre, like like the reason it's so funny to me is they were advertising this RPG, which is just like not totally an Xbox thing all the time, especially a JRPG.
Yeah.
And they're also at the time they don't have Baldur's Gate, which is like, bro, that's the biggest thing in the world right now. And you guys didn't, you know, get it day and date. They have it now, obviously, but like it it feels like a weird place to start with like Atlas. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna do it anywhere, so be it.
Yeah.
good on them for trying. We'll see how it works. I'd like to see the sales numbers to like really get an idea of, are they keeping up? Are they like not selling at all?
Well, my buddy who I've had on before, who does content on like YouTube stuff, Brent from Work in Progress.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let me get my phone alarm real quick. Let me do that real quick. Sorry, hold on.
That's fine. We'll edit that in post. Lights are so bright. Why am I so bright? I'm sorry. I'm used to being able to edit the video.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good.
I might just edit that part out, man. No worries. But
I was just sending subliminal messages. It's fine.
well, I was just like, oh man, that's we have to set an alarm to remind us to one of our dogs their medication.
Oh, sure. Yep.
So but shit, where were we at?
You're talking about your friend
oh,
Work in
Brent.
Progress.
Oh yeah, Brent from Work in Progress, my bad. He was telling me a thing that he likes to do is he looks at like the achievement numbers, and he was
Oh,
like,
sure.
okay, everyone over here on Xbox complaining about not getting certain games, y'all get all these Persona games and nobody's really playing them. Like you can look at like the percentage of people that have gone through some of these achievements, and you're like, you're not even getting through like the first parts of the game, really. And or like there's just a very small percentage. Now, granted, these games take some time and an investment. They're not something you can just beat in a week. I mean, you probably if you were
Right.
just, you guys know, like a lot of JRPGs, a lot of RPGs in general, they're gonna take time. And that's part of the fun and the reward, that kind of that level of commitment and investment that you have, whether it's with your own character or with the story in general. But I don't know, it's kind of like you're talking about right now with, or you brought up Baldur's Gate and Microsoft missing out on that, and I guess it was because of the Xbox Series S, which it feels just like a weird cop out answer to just say like, like, why can't you just like release it for the X and go, hey, but we're gonna release this version soon? Like, I don't understand why you can't do that. But
I don't know if that's like a day and date thing with Microsoft. I know they've got some stipulations about like if it's a third party and you can't release the game, fully for both systems, maybe, or something. I like I've heard some weird stipulations like that in the past. I don't know if that's a thing here, but like, I mean, maybe that's a part of it. It just seemed like, oh, like how can you miss this boat right now? Like you gotta be kidding me.
So like so Karma kind of helps them out because then Pal World does what it does.
Sure.
And
True.
and that wasn't on PlayStation. But then also what goes around comes back around, and now we're dealing right now with Helldivers 2 blowing up and only being on PC and PlayStation.
Yeah.
So and Phil's even quoted like he said something along the lines, oh, don't want to misquote him, but like who benefits out of that? Like making that decision where you exclude Microsoft. The only thing that I'm looking at right now is that from what I've been keeping up with is that the servers are maxed out. So maybe it also came down to like they weren't ready for this kind of response. They weren't ready for those numbers. Can you imagine if they had all of Xbox and that whole like ecosystem part? So I don't know. That seems to be the new fun game that we have going on now. Is I think Sony's going to look at like Helldivers and go, "Shit, dude, we got to do this PC stuff like a lot more."
Yeah, I think their stuff, their in-house published stuff, I think they'll keep kind of doing what they do with, wait like a year and release it. I think that's worked well enough for them.
Do you think that should be the standard? Like, do you think that should just be like? I think that that's fair. You kind of go, here is incentive to come to this platform, but then eventually we'll just release it to everyone else, and then it looks good on the books. I mean, you make more money.
Like just as a personal example, I have been fiending the concept of Final Fantasy 16. that came
Really?
out like that came out what, middle of last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a PS5 exclusive. It's not on PC yet. I assume I'm going to see a PC version, July something of this year, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to wait, or do I say, hey, my tax return's coming soon, I'm gonna, drop some money on a PS5? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but it's also like, yeah, the hype is, lower, obviously, a year later to get it, but also
Mm-hmm.
like, if I can just be patient. I didn't want to play the Spider-Man games right away, but then they came out on PC and I got to play them there, and like,
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh,
But they're great. So I I think that's a good way to do it.
yeah.
Microsoft obviously has a different, they're kind of just made to have a different mentality because it's Microsoft. They make the computers too. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's tough to keep it off the PC necessarily. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously exclusivity from PlayStation's a different thing, but like, um, I think it's not a bad idea to eventually release those titles. That's, is it gonna maybe make a bigger impact for you to keep exclusives? Sure. But like, that's what you have something like Halo for. That's what you have, a franchise like Gears and stuff like, or Forza, that you can keep totally in house as like, this is our thing. And if you want to play them, you got to
Mm-hmm.
come to us. Or be PC, whatever.
Well, well,
I
I'm
think it's
sure.
not
Did
bad.
well, no, you're good. I was just gonna say, like, you heard the Xbox stuff that happened this week or last week,
Right,
whatever.
right.
Yeah. So, um, how did you feel about that as far as exclusives go? Because I think like Helldivers and even the two of the games that are rumored to go third party or
Mhm,
multi-platform, however it's worded, but are community-based games that are online
mhm,
focus. And
mhm.
we're assuming nothing's been released, but or confirmed. Sea of Thieves and Grounded maybe I heard
Yeah,
those
I
two
thought I
games.
saw Grounded was one of them.
I've been
Yeah, and then
seeing
there
Grounded get
was,
tossed
a
around,
few other ones. And
but
then like
like
Hi-Fi
Halo,
Rush.
Hi-Fi Rush, yeah, but
Mhm.
that's like a single. So I'm looking at Halo that's free to play, the multiplayer at least.
Right.
Why wouldn't that benefit from being available other places? Or is that like we can the day you see Master Chief on a PlayStation, we lost. We're done. Is it kind
I
of
don't know.
like that?
Saying we lost feels so dramatic for it, but like
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. I mean, I totally get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I think there is, like, look, as a consumer, I want all of the games on all of the platforms, right? Like, I
See?
just,
Okay.
obviously
I'm there
as a
with that.
consumer, on my from my end, that's what I
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
If I'm a Microsoft exec, I like, listen, I get not doing that. That
Yeah.
makes sense. I would, if it were my company and I was trying to make a bunch of money, I probably would keep a couple aces in the hole. Like, listen, Halo Infinite didn't hit the way it was supposed to. It just didn't.
Yeah.
Uh, but like, imagine if it did.
Mm.
I know that's such a hypothetical, but like, let's let's say Halo Infinite comes out. It's a 9.5. It's a 10 out of 10 game. Everybody loves it. All of a sudden, we're framing Microsoft so differently right now. We're framing Xbox. No one is thinking that they're going to stop making consoles all of a sudden. Like, eh, I think it's totally okay to have some things in house that are just yours. And you really, if you choose to release them, year or two later on other consoles, fine, do that. But like, have a signature,
Right.
and a reason to come to you. And like, you know, put Hi-Fi Rush on other platforms is fine. But like, I think it's totally, fine for them to say, it's, again, because you have the PC element of it too.
Mm.
You have, I mean, that's a huge market in and of itself right now, to just say, yep, you can play it on PC, you can play it on Xbox, go crazy.
Yeah, it's an interesting dilemma that they find themselves in because I guess like depending on what kind of train of thought you're on, some people go you either PC game or you console game. Well, Xbox kind of has to play both fields, and they're like, "Hey, we're cool PC, like we're a PC
Mm-hmm.
company. We have PC Game Pass, we have Xbox Game Pass, and I think they need to simplify that shit. That shit is a little. It's kind of confusing if you've ever looked at the tiers that they got. I think
Yep.
all sides have really screwed that up. They fumbled that really hard this generation. They really should just make it pretty simple. Even streaming services are getting to the point where it's like, oh, you have the ad free, but then you don't have the 4K, but you have the this or there's like 5 different like
Right.
versions of the same thing. Let's just give me a one or the other. That's a whole nother tangent for another time.
Right.
Um, yeah, I think that exclusives will always be a thing. You know,
Mhm.
especially Nintendo. Nintendo will
Well,
never let any of their exclusives go. The furthest they might go is mobile. I can't see them even touching PC. But you know, and people will be like, "Well, why doesn't Nintendo get brought up?" It's like, dude, they've decided years ago they're not a part of this. Like, they're like, we're doing our own
right.
thing, and that's worked to their advantage, I think. And they focused on what they, you know, granted, I don't know why the Switch never got wallpaper or anything like that or better themes and stuff. Like there's so many things that the Switch just said, we don't care about that stuff.
Mhm.
You got your iPhone or Samsung Galaxy right there. Why don't you just treat it, you know, like you would your Switch or whatever. Anyways, my whole thing is like I think people are worried that exclusives are going away, and I know this whole topic with Xbox and Microsoft and what they're doing, and Phil Spencer going, yeah, you know, when more people play, you know, we all win, everyone has fun. And I believe that. I'm with you on that. I think they also just kind of looked at last year and said, shit, Starfield didn't hit like it was supposed to. Uh, Redfall or whatever
Mhm.
didn't
Mhm.
hit. Like you bring up
Mhm.
about Halo, if they had knocked it out of the park, their track record would be pretty clean right now. They're like, "Yo, you said
Totally different.
we didn't bring out games, bro." Bop bop. Literally last year they would have had 2 or 3 games that should have been like they were really putting a lot behind. Like both of
Mhm.
those games got separate attention. Like
Yeah.
you know, but then they buy all these companies and people are thinking they're doing that to beef up their brand, but then it's also like, wait, we make more money if we just keep Call of Duty on everything, if we put this on everything.
Right.
So it's like we are in this weird crossroads of like, you know, seclude your brand with like exclusives, but also shit, we make more money when we take these brands and we put them everywhere. Like every screen should be an
Right.
Xbox to Phil Spencer, you know.
Right, right. I mean, we, you know, when you own the cow and you know the cow being Call of Duty in this case, and you know you get to sell the milk to everybody.
Yeah.
Obviously, that
Yeah.
makes more sense. I've always had this, and like maybe I'm crazy, but just like so growing up, I was an Xbox kid.
Okay. Me too.
Had a I had the 360. I had the one. I had the
Too.
One X. Um, and then I stopped with Microsoft probably about 7 years ago because I realized I went an entire year without powering the thing on because nothing made me want to play it. And like to me, when I kind of look back, I think back to, you know, the 360 and the Xbox One days, and I'm if if I wanted to play stuff, you know, if I wanted to play Madden with my friends, if I wanted to play Call of Duty with my friends, if I want to play Halo ODST or whatever with my friends, like that was the system you had. Like PlayStation, yeah, they had games, but like that was the, you know, Xbox was the one I had to have. And I feel like that was kind of the market that Xbox hit really well was like, I don't want to say the dude bros, but like the guys who just kind of have those top tier titles there, the Maddens, the Call of Duties, the,
Yeah.
you know, the
Yeah.
ones that are so mainstream. And they never built anything of their own aside from like Halo. I guess Gears, that one always felt secondary to me, but like
Hmm.
it is an exclusive, so be it.
Yeah.
Um, and so it never felt like they built anything else. So, you know, once we started moving more console generations and ooh, Sony's got that God of War game that looks good. Oh man, they got that Spider-Man game that looks good. Oh, they got that Last of Us game that looks good before we all hated it. Um, like it made it really hard to want to like, and for me, I wanted to play Persona and I couldn't do that
Mhm.
on the Xbox. It just wasn't an option. So I was like, you know what? I could still play all those games I like, but I get a bunch of other stuff too. Um, So that's where the incentive comes in of like, yeah, if you're Microsoft, make your money on the Call of Duties, make your money on the, on these massive, especially because you own them now. Make your money on a Starfield and then eventually put that on other consoles. Great, but like, still have something. You got to still have something that makes it so that your console is the one that they want to play those games and your games on. And I think PlayStation has done that. They have their own problems. Nintendo obviously is their own entity. You're talking to a Nintendo defender here, not for everything they do, but like as how they have run the business to this point. Like you brought up the argument of like, oh, they don't put wallpapers on the Switch. They don't put.
Yeah.
Guess what? I've been on that screen for probably 0.3% of my Switch's life. Like, I understand that people want that stuff.
Yeah.
That's not going to stop me from playing Mario Kart. That's not going to stop me from playing Fire Emblem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And Nintendo's always just been really about like, hey, we remember and we try to keep it be the main focus, and that is games are supposed to be fun and they're supposed to be accessible. Anybody should be able to pick up a controller and play Mario Kart, Smash, whatever, And I think they also just tried to set themselves apart. Dude, that Switch going on for 7 years, like, cuz recently they're saying that it's been rumored that it's getting delayed to like the first quarter of 2025, the Switch 2 or whatever it's going to. I know it's not going to be called the Switch 2. Like, I know it's not.
might. They're not great, but like they might.
Oh, I hope they don't, dude. That would be like
you me both. You me both.
It's like when they went Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, but then everybody else got like, cool little, Ragnarok or Love and Thunder. They got little. I like when a sequel has like a different name and not just like
when it has
the
an
second
identity.
one. Yeah, yeah. It's
when
like,
it has its own
Winter
identity.
Soldier, cool. I like that's the second one. Civil War, but then it was like, yeah, 2. So I wonder if that's, but see, when I made the argument about, hey, open the borders, like let most of these games be available everywhere. So it's not so much about exclusives anymore. It's more about hardware, because I feel like that's where Microsoft should focus. People are saying they need to withdraw from hardware. I'm like, well, look, if you probably got one more shot, because they have not made a profit. They have not made a profit. Microsoft has not made a freaking profit since Xbox 360, especially the one. That's when they lost it, man. And like you said, the 360 was the time in gaming that I had friends that I knew didn't game, and now they're gaming because they're playing Guitar Hero, they're playing Rock Band, they're playing Call of Duty, they're playing Madden, NBA 2K. You're right. And a lot of them are the dude bros. Like that personally, these were my groups of friends, and I'm like, wow, you guys game? What? Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll play NCAA and stuff, and I like a lot of those games. I think that they are successful and for a reason. But on the same note, Nintendo went off to be different, and I think that's paid off for them. And I think Xbox could try something different, because when I look at the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X right now, I'm just like, Xbox, they were like, yo, this is the strongest, best console ever made. And I'm like, what have y'all done with this shit? And now they're trying to say that in a quote in this last podcast that they did, where they're like, yo, this next hardware is going to be like the largest, leap from a generation to a generation and that we've seen in gaming. And I'm like, well, okay, that's what you say. That's what you said last time.
Wonder, I laughed out loud when she said that. I was cackling because because I can tell you, I would bet my left nut right now. It isn't. It absolutely isn't. I don't care what you think it is. Like, this is, and like to kind of use the Nintendo example here too. Like, I think Nintendo saw, like, to some extent saw this coming. Like, you look at a game from like the Xbox One and you look at a game today, and like, there's a graphical jump. It is not as significant as going from like the original Xbox to the 360.
Not
Or,
at all.
you
No.
know, we're getting to a point where improvements, yes, they're happening, but they're very minute. And I think Nintendo said, yeah, okay, fine, we'll make a system that's got like somewhere between the PS3 and PS4 graphics. It doesn't look that bad. You guys complain all the time. It really doesn't look that bad, and it's way more fun to play than the shit you guys have. So come on over.
Yeah.
Also, our hardware is like $200 less,
Yeah,
so you can
more
afford
affordable.
it.
Yep.
I know the Steam Deck exists now, but like you can play it on the go. You can play it on your TV. That's fine. Do whatever you want. Like they absolutely like read the industry like a book with the Switch, and I give them all the credit in the world. They deserve all that money. They deserve to land where they did. They still made some mess ups in there, but like,
yeah, like stick drift and all that stuff. Like, come on, dude. It's like they
yeah,
just
I
ignored
mean,
all the problems that they did have. They're like, yeah, just keep playing your Mario.
they're also not as significant as, hey, nobody's enjoying Halo Infinite.
Oh
Nobody's enjoying, you know, this game, you know,
Yeah.
right? Like these are things that have remedies, and like
Yeah.
again, they should have done better with that hardware. I 100%. I had at least 3 Joy Cons that went drift since 2018 when I got my Switch. By the same token, they were far more remediable situations than not being able to play X, Y, or Z game entirely, not because of the hardware.
Well, and I use the what is it, the Pro controller? I use that most of the time anyways. Like if I'm not
Bro, this thing is like the best controller I own of all the systems.
I see, I feel like that's like okay, if anything, I've always loved the Xbox controller. I don't
I do
know.
too.
It just
I
fits
do
in my
too. I really
hand
love it.
really well, and I'm glad that the Pro controller kind of resembles the feel and the big difference is where the analog sticks are. I've always just preferred it to be one higher than the other. Where some people, obviously like the PlayStation way of doing it.
Well, different,
I
yeah.
I had a PS4 for years. I mean, I can go either way. It's cool, but the cool thing about Nintendo, getting back to that real quick, it was just that they were for so long, ever since we've been growing up playing games, they had a handheld and then they had a home console. Handheld and home console. Certain games would only go to handheld, and certain games would only go to home console. And it's almost like they were playing that, they were fighting that battle with one hand tied behind their back, and then they're like, "Fuck it, we're just gonna make one console." And then that's why we've seen so many titles. On top of that, they're like, none of y'all bought a Wii U. It's cool. We're gonna bring those games over here. Oh,
right.
That game that you didn't get to play because it wasn't on here. Hey, we're gonna port it over. So it's like the eShop and the variety. Now they still severely lack on certain things, but even Microsoft has said we want to bring Call of Duty to the Switch. Like we want to do like if they had. I wish, and this is just my quick little thing. Okay, I don't know what to call it, but I was like, why didn't they ever just do a Madden on the Switch that had like retro like S graphics, like a 360 graphic? Or remember when they did the Wii Madden games and they looked like a generation behind, but they were still like updated rosters and stuff. I'm like, why didn't y'all just do a Switch version that wasn't like, oh look at this, you can see the grass blades. I'm like, I don't care.
I don't need all that. Yeah, I remember when I would go home, like when I was in college and I would come home and my brother had a Wii at home. And he had like NBA 2K on that. And it was like that was their only system that was at home, so like that was fine, I guess. But in this day and age, I just don't know that there's enough, like I don't think there's enough demand for those games if you don't already own a more powerful system to play them on.
I get it.
Like the person who just owns a Switch is not somebody who's buying NBA 2K. Like they put exclusive versions of the show on the Switch when Shohei Ohtani was on the cover because Japan crossover.
Yeah.
But like I bet not even 0.5% of the Switch's audience bought that game. Maybe they did more in Japan. I think honestly they did because Shohei's on the cover and that was like super cool.
Right.
But like you're just not like if I had the choice to play Madden on the Switch or I had the choice to play it on my PC, like where am I going to play it? You know, it's especially because they never put a discount on the Switch versions. They were always the same price, and even if it's like $10 cheaper, you know, I'll pay the extra $10 for my Madden to look better,
right?
Or like you said, Phil Spencer saying he wants to put Call of Duty on all these systems, including the Switch. Like, again, I put Fortnite on my Switch once when I was on vacation because it was funny.
Yeah,
and like, I mean, I could have hand drawn that.
It can be bad.
I shouldn't say that. It wasn't that bad. It just took longer to load.
Handheld mode is where those things suffer the most.
Right.
Like, and I think people just have it in their minds. Like, there's certain games that I would only buy on the Switch because I knew, yeah, this is gonna be good handheld mode. Triangle strategy, stuff like that, where it's just like, oh yeah, oh, this is awesome. I don't need it on a big screen. I mean, it doesn't hurt, but at the same time, like, you know, it's pixel art, you know, and it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, like but that's where we're gonna see kind of what direction they go when they bring in this new console. Like, what is it gonna be capable of? And but yeah, Microsoft, I think everything's weird. Like, where are you leaning right now when it comes to gaming at this time, like modern gaming, this generation of consoles and stuff? Are you, you know, net positive, net negative, like, or just indifferent? You're just like, I'm always gonna find something, and it doesn't really matter.
Well, I'll definitely always find something because I always have, and I always will. God forbid.
Yeah.
You know, I think Xbox and PlayStation are in crisis mode right now.
Really?
I really listen. Even like
crisis mode, like what on the is it like level orange? Are we like, is it that to be worried?
PlayStation's not putting out a first party title till Q1 2025. So we're about to go a whole year without any of them, which, like, okay, fine. Microsoft, I mean, listen, we've all talked about it this week. How, like, bro, fanboys were selling their Xboxes. They thought they were jumping ship. It was the Boston Tea Party up in there.
Yeah,
not good.
It wasn't.
That's crazy. That's obviously crazy. But
no,
and
it's true.
And like when you step back and look at the industry, look at the layoffs, look at what is happening to these AAA studios. It's just such a like this isn't sustainable. The concept of what a AAA game today is not sustainable. If it was, Cyberpunk wouldn't have launched the way it did. Halo Infinite wouldn't have launched the way it did. Like, those games would have been given the time they needed. There wouldn't be a publisher or anybody with money invested there that needed it to come out, you know,
ASAP.
This day and date. And like I don't know how you step away from that. At least not comfortably without hurting the bottom line, which to those two companies seems like a really, really big deal.
Right.
This is where you need games like a Hi-Fi Rush. You know, this is where you need some of like the AA stuff, like a Helldivers. You need stuff like that to kind of carry the weight right now.
Oh, and
you need to be pushing those and finding a way to retool your AAA titles. Because, like, I'm gonna tell you right now, who in their right mind can sit here today and say, I'm excited for Elder Scrolls 6? Legitimately, who can look at Bethesda and go, after 76, after Starfield, who can look at Elder Scrolls 6 and go, yeah, I'm really pumped for that. Like I'm sure there are people. I'm not saying that no one is, but like,
right.
How can you not have that voice in the back of your head going, they've effed up twice, and Microsoft is not someone who's going to be cool about this? No. Like, I don't know. There's like those two companies need to change how they operate right now. I think Xbox even more. I think they're just I think they need to just put out a good first party title before I'm gonna even like trust them a little.
Well, so is it so much the company's faults like Xbox and Sony and stuff like that versus like somebody like an Ubisoft right now who releases Skull and Bones and says it's a quadruple A, title, and it's like not even close to anything that they literally tried to pitch and sell to people for years, and now it's out there now.
They're absolutely a part of this problem. They're they're just the vehicle, I think, for like these are the games that that Microsoft and Sony will like they'll see them and they'll go, "Yep, we're pushing these guys to the front." Because they said it's a AAA title and they're putting all the money into it. And they said, all right, you got to come out this date. And then when it's not, when it's meh, like it's not making back your money or it's making back a lot less than it should. And it's eroding trust day by day.
Let me bring this up then. Me and a buddy at work today were talking about, we've been talking about Marvel and MCU stuff. He's pretty new. We're just getting to know each other, and we're just talking about like just different stuff that we have in common. And we were talking about Deadpool 3 coming out and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I guess like I know they're slowing it down. So I'm looking at the releases in 2024 when it comes to MCU films, and it was like that was it. That's it. So when you talk about Sony not releasing anything, I'm thinking, okay, are they finally doing what we've been asking? Like instead of releasing shit, just like, hey, we're just gonna like factory print this shit out, put it out there, y'all buy it up, eat it up. Oh, the CGI is not good. Oh, like this game's broken. Hey, y'all want it? Like we got to keep putting shit out. Are these companies in some weird way, even though it's unfortunate for us as a consumer sometimes, even though I feel like you could take a whole year off from releasing games and everybody would be fine. We would be okay.
Yeah, we have plenty.
We have plenty. It's almost like too much. So are we just seeing these companies kind of take that feedback or having data now, even though people have been saying, yo, quality over quantity. So now it's like you want these games, they're only taking longer to make. These movies, like all this stuff. So we're finally seeing them pump the brakes. And now it's kind of like we've also just been so spoiled and programmed to expect stuff all the time. And Sony just was like, hey, we're just going to break it to you. We ain't got nothing coming out this year for real. But stay tuned.
I think to some extent that's part of it.
Yeah.
I think it's more that these companies see, oh my God, we have to hemorrhage so much money for a 7 and 8 year development cycle for some of these AAAs at this point. Because some of this stuff is legitimately taking that long to make. And it's like, that's a console generation. Who knows what what the hardware is going to look like, what the benchmarks are going to need to be. If you're looking to start a new IP, a brand new, never before seen experience, all the buzzwords, like if you're starting that today, that game's releasing in 2030.
Wow.
And like,
that's realistic.
Like, what do you, if you're Microsoft and it's your company, you're a first party release here, like, how are you, what confidence do you have that you're gonna, can you really predict what that game needs to be by 2030? I think that was a big part of why Cyberpunk was the way it was, because that game had such a long development cycle that, all of a sudden the console generation shifted and like, we got to put it on this one, but also we don't want to respect the fact that we said it was coming out for this one, and now this game looks like garbage.
Bro,
they fixed it, and good on them, but like, ugh.
Oh, it's fantastic now, but this has been the first time that I can recall they are still releasing games on PS4. Like, you can still buy an Xbox One version of a game. I'm like, really? Like,
Street Fighter 6 came out on the 4, and I couldn't believe it.
It's like what? That's crazy. So it also tells people like you really ain't got no reason. I mean, yeah, your PlayStation 4 might blow up or something. Like I don't know, like I wouldn't want to ever play something like a Hogwarts Legacy on a Switch or anything like that. Like there's certain things
Mhm.
where, like we talked about earlier, like obviously there's gonna be a better way to go about it, blah blah blah. But I think you bring up a good point. Like certain games that have flopped here recently in the last couple of years, it feels like we got to take in mind that the idea and the concept was like sometimes, like you said, 5-7 years ago. This is like, yo, this is gonna hit.
Mhm.
Things change, trends change, and then by the time it comes
Mhm.
out, it's like, oh, we're done with zombie survival horror games. Like, hey, we're good. But that's like so
That's
2018 or whatever.
literally That's literally what's happening with Kill the Justice League right now. That's
Yes,
literally what happened to the
but
Suicide
they're
Squad
like,
game
shit,
is
we got this game. We got to keep doing it. We got to keep making it. We
when they
know it's not
when
gonna.
Rocksteady started developing it, it was like the live service game was hitting. That was it.
Yeah.
And so they made this live service game and it is 2024 and nobody gives a shit
Shit,
about that
and they
anymore.
gotta bite that burger, dude. I'm telling you, it's
Which is a
and
shame
yeah.
because there's a lot of good, like there's redeemable stuff in that game. The facials in that game are so good. They're like they're some of the best I think the industry has seen, and nobody cares because the game sucks.
Well, why? That it's just. Oh my god, I could get into a whole thing, but I got to. I haven't played it, but I was talking to somebody recently. And I said, what is their obsession with the Suicide Squad? Like, I understand that DC had to look at what Marvel was doing just in broad strokes. Like, think about the movies,
Mhm.
whatever. And the success of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, somebody at Warner Brothers was like, we gotta fucking tap into that, dude. What do we got? They're
Mhm.
like, well, we got the Suicide Squad, I guess. And they're like, do that. So, like, even when the movie came out, it's like, it had Queen playing. They were just like, yo, this is just like, it's goofy, it's crazy, it's wild. It's like uh, it, they've just been really trying to push like the Suicide Squad, and then I'm like, this is Rocksteady, right? Like, so
Mhm.
this is the Arkham Batman and his story, and you're telling me this is what it all led up to?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's odd that
Why didn't
like
y'all just make a Justice League game? Like,
well,
that would have been kind of cool.
I don't disagree, but also the Marvel Avengers game that was
Ah,
also live service,
I
that one
know.
blew.
I
That
wonder
one
what they
blew.
thought. I wonder where they were in development when they saw that stuff take place, and they were like, "Oh, we got to keep going, though,
Oh
guys.
god.
We got,
Oh god. Oh
we
god.
got to
It's
show up to work tomorrow."
especially when they made the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which wasn't live service,
And was good,
and like it still didn't sell as well, but
right?
like it was critically acclaimed as a very good
Yeah,
game, and like we're already in it on this one.
it's wild, man. I don't know. It's just it's so hard how it's so funny to see how companies have to pivot and how in tune they are with people and consumers with social media. Like when things suck, dude, they hear about it. There's no way they avoid it.
Yeah.
Whether it's a YouTube video or a tweet or this, like it's like not just one source, it's not just IGN saying something or Rotten Tomatoes.
Mhm.
It's the whole world. And some people
Yeah.
like that's why I kind of stay out of certain things. Like I haven't touched Suicide Squad. I can say that I've heard that
Mhm.
it sucked. I can't say that it sucked because I haven't played it. But I go, hey, I heard it
Sure.
sucked, man. I don't know. Um, especially when you're charging. Was it a $70 game? Was it 69.99?
I think it was. And you've got transactions and you've got,
Ah,
you got micros in there because it's live service. You
did they
gotta,
delay it though because something leaked and everybody was like, "Oh, that looks so battle passy."
because
Like
it was worse. Yeah.
it was worse,
Because
so
it was
they're like, "We
worse. It
can't
was
take it
worse.
out, but we're gonna like
Yeah.
pad it out a little bit." Man,
Yeah.
um, speaking of pivoting, we're gonna pivot into some other stuff, man, because
Sure.
I'm sure we could talk about gaming the whole time.
I
But
could be here until 2 in the morning.
yeah, exactly. And I'm sure, like, if you ever want to do this again, we'll have other stuff to
Yeah.
talk about. We'll
Yeah.
bring that back. But like I told you before we really got recording, I've gotten into wrestling recently. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, see, I was into this is gonna be my first time kind of geeking out about it. Outside of my girlfriend, I've like brought along on this like rabbit hole of like we went to a wrestling event that my job was offering tickets for, and
Sure.
we went, and I was like, well, at first I was like, I don't think she'll be into that. I'm not even sure if I'm into it. Well, we'll see. And then I brought it up to her, and she's like, oh hell yeah, like, sounds like it would be a good time. Just even just
Mhm.
be just to experience it, right? So we
Right.
ended up going, having a blast. And then I started watching Raw. I started watching SmackDown. I started paying attention. The Royal Rumble happened like shortly after
Yep.
that, because they were in Montgomery, Alabama, and went to Birmingham, and that's when shit went down. That's when The Rock showed up in Birmingham. See,
Mhm.
I've been so tapped in. It's so I gotta chill. But like that's when I realized that they do this little, like, it's a road show, man. They are
Yep.
going, like, when they say the road to WrestleMania, this is legit.
They're literally driving there,
They're
yeah.
literally going towards it. So yeah, man, I've just been just having so much fun with it, man. I know you're a fan of wrestling.
Mhm.
You're very vocal about that. You have yeah. So I just want to kind of get, like, what got you into wrestling? How long you've
Sure.
been into wrestling? What is it about it that you enjoy?
I mean, I, like many, like just about every person my age, the late 90s attitude era, early
Mm,
2000s, like, I mean, who wasn't watching, Raw or Monday Nitro at that time, right?
yeah.
Stone Cold, Kane, Undertaker, The Rock, Triple H, all that jazz. Uh, Kind of fell out of love with it, grew out of it, quote unquote, in the like mid 2000s. But I always felt like I kept a finger on the pulse of it. Like I always kind of knew, like I knew John Cena when he kind of became big, and a lot of these names, and I knew like CM Punk when he became a name, in like 2010, especially, and even a little earlier than that. I think it was probably about 20. I think it was 2016. I I had just gotten out of a relationship and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, I need to just occupy my thoughts with some things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surfing Xbox Live and I saw that WWE 2K16 was like $10. And I was like, yeah, I haven't played a WWE game since the old ones, since like No
Yeah.
Mercy. So hell yeah, I'll jump in on this. And it's like all these new faces, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. So I ordered the Royal Rumble, which was like 2 weeks later, or like I got the WWE Network. And the Royal Rumble was coming like 2 weeks later. And I asked a couple of my friends if they wanted to come over, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that'd be cool." Like just to,
Yeah.
none of us know all that much about this. Why not? And that started a trend where me and this group of four guys, we watched every pay-per-view until probably like mid 2022 together.
What?
So we did not miss a one.
Oh, that sounds cool. That must
We
that
did
must be
like
fun.
prediction. We had a title belt for like predicting like
What?
what would happen every night. Oh yeah, we went ham on this stuff. And then like AEW became a thing kind of,
Yeah.
in the 2020, and I was like all on board with that because I was kind of getting sick of WWE. And now we've got two companies doing really well, and I think that's awesome. And I'm not as like weekly tuned in as I have
Mhm.
been in the past, but like I definitely follow it. I'm watching the
Yeah.
pay-per-view still. I'm keeping track of what's going on.
Right. Um, just to explain to me, novice here,
Sure.
is AEW a competing brand, or, like, from the way I look at it, is it like a minor league? Because didn't, like, one guy, Bronson, who's it?
Bronson Reed,
Oh, shit. He just signed to
Braun
SmackDown.
Strowman, or
Oh,
oh,
dude,
Braun Breaker, Braun Breaker.
yo, so yeah,
Yeah,
he wasn't he on AEW, and
mm,
then, or yeah, like,
he
fill me in, like,
he was
how that
on.
works.
Yeah, so AEW is a different company.
A whole different
Um,
thing. Okay.
yeah, so AEW was started by uh mainly funded by Tony Khan, who is the son of Jaguars owner Shad Khan.
Jeez.
So they got dough. They got
They got the
some
monies.
they got some scratch.
Yeah.
Um and also a few wrestlers. Cody Rhodes was one of the founding members.
What?
A name you very well. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
gone. Cody Rhodes left the WWE in 2018, went on this journey of like going to Japan. He acted on The Arrow for a while because he's friends with Stephen Amell.
What?
And he got hooked up with the Young Bucks. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They've been like the best tag team that's never touched WWE. They're fantastic. And Kenny Omega, another name maybe you've heard, I don't know. And they started a new wrestling company. The first time there was a competing brand to the WWE since WCW. Now, obviously, they don't have the clout. They don't have the history that WWE does, but they're pulling 800,000 to 1 million viewers every week on TNT, TBS. So like, yeah, they're absolutely their own thing. NXT is the one I think you're thinking of. That is the quote unquote minor league, or like the developmental system.
Okay, cool.
To WWE. So that's where you got like a Braun Breaker, who is the son of one of the Steiners, if you know.
Yeah, I heard
their names. Yeah,
his family's relevant, stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
like there's a lot of history to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool about Cody, man. That obviously, like, he's popping off right now. Like that's such a big hot topic right now. As far as what do you think about Cody Rhodes?
Cody Rhodes is the most interesting man in all of wrestling in like this generation.
Yeah,
bar none. Like, this dude came up in WWE. He's the son of Dusty Rhodes, so you've already got the pedigree there. Didn't really hit in WWE, and they gave him a gimmick of Stardust.
I saw that.
It was Goldust, but worst. He tried to get out of the gimmick. They wouldn't do it. He asked for his release. They said yes. They said fine. And he went and just did his own thing. He appeared on like a bunch of different other promotions. Was just kind of a dude for hire. Like I said, hooked up with just the right. He was a member. So there was a show that occurred called All In. It was, I think this was in 2019, early 2019, I want to say. And it all started because someone tweeted at a wrestling journalist, Dave Meltzer, and said like, hey, do you think the Young Bucks in Ring of Honor could sell a 10,000 seat arena for a show? And he said, I bet you, or like he said something along the lines of like, not really. And Cody subtweeted him and said, I bet you $1 I could. And Dave said, all right, you're on. And Cody and the Young Bucks went hard to make this show happen. They sold out. Was it the United Center? I don't know. It was some place in Chicago, but they easily killed the 10,000.
Wow.
Had an absolutely bananas show. Tony Khan is there. And thus this new wrestling promotion is born, basically. And Cody's like one of the faces of it. He like was a king in that promotion for a couple of years. Fans kind of turned on him because he kind of got stale and he was his own little island. He felt like a part-timer almost, even though he was there all the time. And then Cody, God bless him, he bet on himself, said, I'm not going to renew here. I know I'm a founding member. I'm going to go win the belt my dad never did. And
what belt is that? Which one is that?
That would be like the WWE championship in this case.
Okay. The one that Roman Reigns has?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Not the heavyweight.
Not really. No, not in this iteration. Okay. Not in this iteration of it. So he's so that's the story, right? That's the story.
Listen, man, they've got something with that too, man. And here's the thing, dude. I went into that event when they came to our town. I went in blind. And I saw pictures and I recognized things. It's almost hard, even if you're not into wrestling, not to come across these stars, man. I mean, look at like we were
Yeah.
talking earlier, The Rock and John Cena. These people, Batista, they eventually spread out and they've had such an impact outside of wrestling on pop culture and culture in general. So
Mhm.
I kind of like recognize some of the names and or not really the names, but like the images and stuff. But Cody Rhodes was there that night, and
Mhm.
it wasn't even like a. I mean, there was a good bit of people, man, but like I'm gonna be real, it wasn't probably one of their largest shows.
Yeah,
So
right, right.
so in some way, I'm thinking, damn, that's really cool. Now looking back, that he didn't think that that was beneath him. You know, like he didn't
Oh,
see
yeah.
this like one city go, "Oh, okay, you know, I, and he did like a rope fight. It was wild, dude.
Mhm,
We saw a
mhm.
lot of people. We saw Damage Control. We saw who's it? Danny Priest. Who else did we saw? Jay Uso, or I'm still getting
Yeah,
familiar.
Usos, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
they had a street fight. Like they put on a good show, and this was not a
Yeah.
SmackDown. This was not a Raw. And I'm thinking, wow, that's really cool. And just seeing the passion, bro, it was almost like contagious.
Mhm.
Like it was just
Yeah.
contagious, and like
Oh.
seeing the impact that some of um these wrestlers have on people, and it was just like, man, I want to feel that. I want to know what that's about. Like seeing the crowd go crazy with them and doing the whoa. It's just looking back on it
Mhm.
now, like after watching and seeing, man, this is somebody who's going to main event WrestleMania now. He was just in like I was in the same building with him for a moment. Like that, it's just such a cool experience to really
Mhm.
tap into. Um, what? So I guess I'm trying to decide because there's a lot I want to ask you when it comes to the whole thing.
Sure.
Like, so are you in tune with what's going on right now? With
Mhm. Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah. So what do you how are you feelings? What are your feelings like on The Rock and all this stuff going on now? That's happened more recently here since the
Yeah.
Rumble and stuff. Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think they have accidentally figured out how to make this work.
Yeah,
Like like the Cody winning the Rumble was the right call. And challenging Roman that night, great call, exactly what they should have done.
yeah.
Uh to then bring out The Rock to take that spot for no real reason was like the dumbest thing they've ever done. I shouldn't say ever. They've done dumb things. They've
Yeah.
done some dumb things. But like that was a stroke of madness. That felt like Vince McMahon was back and
Wow.
just like was trying to rebook things. And I was like, oh my God, I hate this now.
Mhm.
And then they do this press conference with, where Cody ends up challenging him anyway. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess you got there in the end. I'm still gonna think it's stupid that you like thought that this was the right idea. Um, but if rumors are to be believed, and The Rock saw the reaction and went, okay, no, let's go full heel. Good on him for the pivot, because there's a lot of dudes that I think would not be okay with that when they came back. Uh, and yeah, I think they're gonna. I mean, the elimination chamber's coming up. That's gonna be, I think, a pretty sick show too. And Mania is setting up to have a couple of great main events.
Yeah, man, it also kind of opened my eyes to how they obviously have a plan, but then like they have to like pivot from time to time. Like these things are gonna happen. Like CM Punk getting hurt, like that became,
Right.
a thing. I think that they had to take into consideration. And then
Hmm.
obviously without going too deep into it, but the Vince McMahon stuff happening, and then not just recently, like The Rock signing to be a part of the TKO like umbrella and all that, which is, I guess, like to my understanding, is the UFC and WWE, and
Right.
they're this umbrella company TKO. And
Hmm.
so I mean, I don't know if like there's so many rumors of how that what went on with those decisions. Like, did The Rock go,
Hmm.
"Hey, yo, put me in WrestleMania"? Like, originally Brock Lesnar was going to be a part of this. Originally, CM Punk was going to
Hmm.
have some kind of play in it. And then to see like the reaction from fans and people in general about like you said, The Rock just coming out there and going, well, and then here's the thing, it just didn't logically make sense. Like, Cody's like, yeah, I'm gonna take everything from you, and I've fucked, and I've had this counseling, and then The Rock shows up, and I'm just like, damn, The Rock's everywhere. But cool,
Right.
he's just everywhere. Like at work, he was at Daytona 500. He's doing the UFL promotions. He was on Pat McAfee not too long ago, and Pat
Mhm.
McAfee is another guy in person that kind of slowly kind of influenced me back into wrestling and being
Sure.
more like aware of what's going on in that world and stuff, dude. But and then it's just weird. Like I feel like they have such a. I kind of went off on a tangent here, but getting back to Cody, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just wild. Like the whole Rock thing, and I think him like, see, I'm learning terms like, oh, he turned heel. Like I'm such
Oh,
a
sure, sure,
novice,
sure.
dude. I did not know the shit like baby face, the heel, these things. So it's been fun, like kind of watching this, and just like you said, man, kind of referencing what you mentioned earlier about like when you got back into it and you were playing the game and stuff. Like sometimes it's been kind of a weird start to the year, and this just seemed like something to just kind of like, man, just have fun. Just enjoy. It's
Yeah.
kind of like The Rock's been
Yeah,
saying, just shut up and just enjoy the ride that The Rock's taking you on. I'm like, hey man,
for
I'm cool
sure.
with it, whatever, whatever. And yeah, man, it's been fun, and I have a new respect for it, just in general. Um, yeah, I'm planning on getting 2K24, man. I was actually thinking
Looks
about.
good.
Let's
Looks
look good.
good.
It's
Looks
fun,
good.
man. Damn,
Looks
dude.
good. If I could make a suggestion to you,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because this is something that helped me a lot when I started to get back into it. Because
Yeah.
one of the things I kind of that really started to pique my interest was the concept of what's going on behind the scenes a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, listen, it's the year 2024. We know this is scripted now, right? We get it. It's not fake. That's incorrect. It's
Yes.
script. It's
Yes.
scripted.
Right.
It's like a TV show. Um, there are a lot of great like resources on YouTube to go back and look at like booking decisions of the past and like learning, how some of these like major things that maybe you have a reference for in like the history of wrestling, learning how they actually happened or why they actually happened. Some of that stuff I think is really, really fascinating to go
Yeah.
back and check out. And I think that might help to give you some names. Heck, the WWE network is sick for that stuff too. Like you
Yeah.
can watch all these old or I guess now it's just on Peacock,
It's on
but like,
Peacock. Oh,
yeah, like,
that's a whole other thing though, man. It's
oh yeah.
Raw going to Netflix and stuff. How do you feel about that? You think that's like the natural move right now? Is to bring it to a streaming service, and then yeah, I don't know. I've even heard rumors this week, as recently as like the last couple days, that Peacock and Paramount have been talking about
Merging.
joining.
Yeah, I
Yeah, but
saw
I'm like,
that.
oh my
Yeah.
god, we're just gonna get back to cable. What are you talking about? Like
Well, that's
we're
yeah,
we're just getting
absolutely.
back. It's like,
But like that's the thing is like cable wasn't a problem necessarily, but like then every cable network had to have a streaming service, and nobody wants that
right,
because nobody wants to
nobody.
pay for every because I don't want to pay. I literally just went back this week and found like not to be one of those ads for like Rocket Money or anything, but like I went back and found a bunch of these like, oh shit, I'm paying for ESPN Plus and I don't watch it ever. Like,
Oh, I got you. Yeah, sometimes, and it's just like for one or two things. Like really, I only have Peacock now for WWE stuff. Like
yeah.
we jumped on it, or no? Hey, where did we get Peacock from? We didn't. So we have a family member that has it.
Oh sure,
So,
yeah, that's the way to do it.
and that's how you got to do it now. Even though everybody's
Hmm.
cracking down, I even heard Disney's like, we need more money. It's like, chill,
Hmm.
chill, chill.
Hmm.
But I only have Peacock just for wrestling, and
Yeah,
Paramount. I've been watching Halo, and some
sure.
I started getting into Star Trek last year a little bit, because I'm kind of like iffy about Star Wars these days. So I was like, all right, I'll finally give Star Trek a chance. It's been nice, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
just it's weird, man. It's just everybody wants to have their own service, but then at the same time, I think what they're looking at is like, what's going to give us the upper hand? Like,
Hmm.
all right, being someone who works at a like a television station, and realizing how many people still watch just like basic cable, basic, programming and stuff like that. I also look at like, okay, not everybody has that kind of internet access. It's wild. I mean, but I think after the pandemic, we kind of realized like not everybody's got like high speed internet or access, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. So but okay, my point is if you ask people why they keep cable, it's for like local channels, local news, and live sports. And right
Mm-hmm.
now, the streaming services, HBO Max or not HBO, is it HBO? Yeah, no, it's just Max now. Hate
Mm-hmm.
that, man.
Whatever.
They didn't know what they
Whatever.
wanted to do.
It's like Twitter and X. It's it's the same
Yeah, I
thing.
still call it X Twitter. I'm just
Yeah.
like I don't. But they're starting to do like Bleacher Report sports. They're doing like live basketball games and stuff like that. And now Netflix getting Raw. It says a lot about wrestling for it to be like something that Netflix goes, yeah, that's where we're going to start stepping into that sports entertainment, sports, live sports, stuff like that.
Right.
So I think that's like going to reach a lot of people, man. And I've heard the rumors that they're considering not doing it on Monday because you compete with a lot of shit on Mondays now.
Right. Right.
National championships, Monday Night Football, things like that are always on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So like now you could release it on a Wednesday or whenever, but then it's just there on Netflix, so you can just watch it whenever. Do you think
Sure.
you think it's going to be good for wrestling?
I think it's going to be a pretty harsh transition for them.
Really?
I don't think it's going to be like a bad thing, but like listen, nobody, even AEW, when they were at their peak, when they were over 1 million a week, never even considered the concept of a show on Mondays.
Yeah.
Because Raw is such a staple. It's been an institution on Mondays since I was, like 10, if not younger. So it like if you're really gonna move it off on Mondays, okay, I think fine, I guess. I really don't think they should. I think you're such a staple. The phrase Monday Night Raw just rolls off the tongue at this point.
It does.
That's what it is.
Does.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Moving it to a streaming service. I mean, anytime you move an established show off of its, regular platform, whether that's moving it, to a different night, or obviously in this case, moving it off of, television and moving it to streaming. That's going to be it's going to be a harsh transition for them, I think. But I think if any show has the established fan base to do that and not get severely hurt, it's probably Monday Night Raw. So
yeah, I think you're right,
if you're going to do it,
I mean, Netflix is the one to do it with too. I mean, the color schemes, everything kind of like works. It works together.
The marketing synergy goes crazy.
It's so nice, and they even brought it up that recently. This is how deep in the rabbit hole I'm just like following this.
Do it,
but they changed the color schemes to more of a black than a red, and I'm thinking, Netflix, bro, they're already getting ready, man.
gotta do it. Yeah, hey, may as well.
Ready. Yeah,
may as well.
Well, let's just say, like, for some reason, Triple H comes up to you or anybody that's like in, top dog over there, and they're like, "Hey, what night should we put Raw if it's not Monday? What night of the week do you think it would benefit the most from?" Because I don't think Tuesday Night Raw. Tuesdays are a weird day,
So if they're vindictive, which I think they could be, I think Wednesdays.
I think
because that's the night AEW is on. They would love to, put the screws to them there.
Yeah.
The other thing is if SmackDown moves, if that were to be a thing as well, I think you would then maybe go to Friday to keep a Friday audience that way.
Yeah.
Now Friday's a tough night too, because that's a night that people aren't necessarily sitting in and watching TV, but like it's an option. I think Wednesday makes the most sense to me.
It's got to. You got Thursday Night Football. Sunday
Mhm.
night football. I mean, I'm just looking at football, but like there's also plenty of other things. But we're also
Oh, but
transitioning
football
from
is the one that kills it, though.
oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Football,
you don't want to
football is the ratings eater.
yeah.
Like they moved, like AEW had to move off of TNT to TBS, so like a lateral move, but
Yeah.
because NBA is on TNT on Wednesdays, so like you gotta,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like you gotta. Um, and like that's something to consider too. I mean,
Yeah.
like Monday Night Football season always hits WWE for like at least, I'd say probably at least 20% of their ratings, if not more. So like you know, they've dealt with it for multiple decades, so like they
Yeah.
can do it, they're fine.
Yeah.
But something to consider.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. It's always fun to see how these like things that we're so used to being a certain way, how they adapt to like they're basically being forced to adapt. I mean, and it's
Mhm.
different for something like for instance with Raw, like you said, it won't be on TV. Like it's different when you have Peacock and you have NBC still at home. Like you still get to see some
Mhm.
of the programming. It's different. Like it just will not be there. You have to go to Netflix. There won't be another way to go about it.
Mhm.
So I think it's gonna be really. I think it's gonna do really well. Honestly, I think that they are catching it at the right time. I don't know what
Mhm.
SmackDown. I know SmackDown's going to USA. They're leaving Fox after 2024, and they're going to go to USA next.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes. But like we're just a generation that like grew up with like, hey, Sunday night Sopranos, like or things would always be on a certain night, Game
Right.
of Thrones, and but now it's like, hey, it's out there, watch it whenever you want. So I don't know if maybe wrestling as far as like having Raw on Netflix, it's like, yeah, you can watch it live or just catch it whenever you get a chance. It's always going to be there, even though for the most part, like we have YouTube TV. So if we
Mhm.
ever
Yeah,
miss it,
same.
we just like DVR it, and watch it whenever we want to.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's I think I think that's where the live aspect of it though kind of really helps because there's
Mm.
so much of wrestling is about, I don't want to say wrestling Twitter, but like, people are going to talk about it right away. And like,
What
if
if
it's
they
on
added?
Netflix,
What if they added a chat feature? Because it's kind of like they do Thursday Night
man,
Football, like on Twitch. And
yeah,
I wonder if they would be like, here's an incentive to or watch
listen,
parties or things like that, because it's like, yo, everybody can watch it.
as someone who was in wrestling Twitter and has gotten out, we need to lock that shit away
Yeah.
forever. I mean, I've made a point often that like there's no such thing as a toxic fan base, there's just toxic people.
Yeah.
I might make an exception for the WWE
Really?
Twitter, or
Worse
for just like not, or just like wrestling Twitter in general is just a cesspool.
is it worse than some of the other aspects of maybe gaming or other fandoms that you've come across? Think?
I genuinely think like I play Persona. That fan base is always considered bad by people. And I can tell you right now, that is a walk in the park compared
Compared.
to going to wrestling Twitter. Oh my God.
Where does it come from? It's just people are just very strongly opinionated, like they're passionate, like to a certain point, like so much. I'm sure there's a lot of people that just have grown up with it, and I don't know.
The tribalism has gone absolutely bananas since
Yeah.
AEW existed.
Uh,
Like like stuff like the Vince McMahon thing,
mhm.
which like again, we don't have to hash that out here, but like people like AEW tribalists will be like,
Oh,
this is why I want,
they were like
this is why
this.
there is shit. Oh, yeah, oh, every single one of them.
Yeah.
Greasy fingers, just
Yeah.
yeah, it's not good. It's not
Mm.
good. Stay away from that. If you're
Yeah.
like, it's okay to dabble a little bit to get some news, but like,
Mhm.
don't just don't check comments.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
like,
what do you think of like how they just and kind of wrap up or tie this up with like how we started with the Cody Rhodes thing? Like a big thing was the outcry on social media and stuff. Do you think that is an example of that, or like in general? I feel like anything can get feedback, and they're in a position where they can literally take the feedback and change in real time. A developer here is like, oh, you don't like Redfall or whatever. Shit, dude, not much we can. We'll try.
Yeah, exactly. That's I think a big difference from Vince McMahon booking and Triple H booking.
Yeah.
When Vince, for the multiple decades that Vince was in charge of creative, like especially in recent years, like if you ever go back and look at like mid to late 2010s Roman Reigns,
okay,
like Vince McMahon had decided so early that he was going to be the guy. He was going to be the John Cena, the Hulk Hogan, the Rock of this generation. And he did everything he possibly could to put him in that position. And the fans they didn't want it.
They weren't buying it.
Daniel Bryan existed. Daniel Bryan existed and we loved him more. All these other guys, Seth Rollins, we loved him more. John Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose, we loved him more. And everybody said, okay, like, you know what? Just turn him heel. Just do the Rock thing. Turn him heel. And then like, let him go on this run. We'll accept that. And then maybe he can come back around as a babyface. And he never did it. He just kept he gave us multiple Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar as the main event of WrestleMania. And it was just like, dog, we don't care. We don't want this. And so he would get booed. There is a legendary they had Roman beat The Undertaker to retire The Undertaker at WrestleMania. And the next night on Raw, he walked out to the ring and he didn't say a word for 8 minutes, just boos, because no one liked him.
Oh my God. And it almost feels like right now, I mean, look, I'll ask like the question and, do you think Cody will finish his story at WrestleMania? Do you think like this is all leading up to finally just going, okay, we're done with this? If there's no way he loses twice, right?
If they don't put the belt on him this time, I think there will be a riot. I think they will burn that building to the ground.
I just don't see how they could rationalize doing that. Maybe last time they were like, yo, we're gonna play off of it. No,
I think part of that, at least like the rumor is that they wanted to have Roman pass, I think it was Hulk Hogan for like most consecutive days with the title. So they wanted to give him something. Like, to be fair, look, at the time I hated it, but like
it's played out really well.
Again, it's like they've done enough to like say, okay, let's do it here. Don't not do it here.
Yeah, please. I mean,
I don't think you have another get out of jail free card on this.
I don't think so either. And what a cool like opinion and perspective on it is it feels like Cody is like assembling the Avengers right now. Like he's getting all the people that Roman Reigns has like fucked over time or beat, and he's like, Seth is like, I'll be your shield, and he's getting that other guy. So he's gonna. It feels like right now, if I had to guess, it is going to be like a Roman Rock versus Cody Seth to some variation, because Seth still has to fight in the heavyweight title belt
championship, right? Yeah, he's gonna. Yeah, whoever wins that, I think.
Yeah, whoever wins at the Elimination Chamber. So I don't know
if anybody can go. If anybody can go, though, it's Rollins. That dude.
Really? See, I come in and he's been hurt. So I haven't really even got a chance to really see him.
There was a time when he was known as Monday Night Rollins, and that dude would show up and have just bananas matches every week because he was the guy.
Yeah.
He is such a great worker that like when you get to see him actually do his thing.
Yeah. Well, I watched
you'll get him.
I got on like, dude, and I was blown away, man, of last year's WrestleMania. Just seeing the scope and scale at SoFi Stadium, it was just
that's the fun of wrestling right there. The pomp and circumstances. So fun.
It was crazy.
So fun.
Oh, I cannot wait for this one. What do you think about Logan Paul being I don't know if you expected that. I'm just like, but
that's cool.
I'm just like, wow, this is wild. Like he's rated in 2K24 like as a 90, and he's like one. Like, and I'm sure they're looking at him like, oh yes, keep bringing in all of that,
Mm-hmm.
that fan base. You already have an audience, cool. But I think he's actually not bad. I don't really care for Logan in general,
Right.
but I gotta
Who
respect
does?
it. I know, man.
Um, Logan, it's so, like I remember when he had his first match
Mhm.
in WWE, and all of us collectively had our jaw on the floor because that dude could go. He just
Really?
like he just like he picked it up. He picked it up like a sponge in water. I mean, like it was shocking. It was genuinely shocking. And yeah, we hate him, but like he's so good at this. He like totally
Yeah.
gets it. He's
Yeah.
really good at being a heel. He's really good in the ring. Like, all right, we'll accept it.
Yeah, and he's gonna be in the Elimination Chamber. I think that squad is
Yeah,
really good,
that's
and I think they
yeah,
got everyone that's in it's gonna be exciting. I know that's gonna come on at like 4 a.m. our time, so I'll probably
because it's
either
Australia. Yeah,
yeah, so I'll be probably watching that a little bit later.
yeah.
But yeah, it is wild to see him. I think they just like I'm talking to you as somebody who's just getting into it. Yeah, I've been aware of the
Mhm,
Steve Austins and the Rocks and the Undertakers, the Canes, Hogan's. I've like it's almost hard not to, but
mhm.
it's also feels like a really unique time where the rosters are really good, the stories are really good. Like the product that's being put out there is. Do you think it's better than it's been in a while, or do you think it's just like no? This is usually typically like when it's at its best or when it's on its A game. This is what you should come to expect. It's just a different generation, you know. Do you think?
This is this is what we've wanted. This
Yeah.
is what a dub like. This is what we expected, and wasn't, and we didn't get
Mhm,
in like those mid to late 2010s.
mhm.
WWE was cratering for a while.
Really? Mm.
Yeah, like it was. I so a little sidebar to that. I went to a Raw here in Milwaukee,
Ah,
um, and this was in like I think it was in like 2018. I want to say, and it went up on Wikipedia at like after the show. It was so bad. The show was so bad that on Wikipedia, in the description of Milwaukee, it was known as the place that wrestling died because of
what?
that episode of it. It was horrendous.
Wow.
No faces won the entire night. Like there were no like interesting storylines. It was just like it was horrendous.
Yeah.
And like
And you were
like
there?
part of that, and I was there, and I was there, and I can attest that it wasn't all that.
How'd you feel? Like
I've
when you were walking out of that place, were you just like, damn, that's
it was like every story just like, and it wasn't like we were like leading up to a pay-per-view or anything, so it
mhm.
wasn't like we were going to get any momentous moment, but like I mean none of the like main stars were even there. It was just like, and again, like the show goes off the air with, for the like multiple, like the third week in a row, all the heels beating up the faces.
Mm.
And so it's like, all right,
Yay.
well, the bad guys win again. All right. And that was it.
Yeah.
And that was it. Whereas now you get, I think Triple H, not only does he know how to book and like book a good story that he utilizes the writers well, but like he's got the horses to go to. He's got, NXT has been so great for that company.
Yeah. I
Um,
was about to say, is it like the competition and also like the development of some of these wrestlers now that's just, it's
mhm,
kind of like bringing such a great pool of talent, that
yeah,
really, and not only just having, because I'm sure you could argue that over those years there was talent. How was it being utilized? How was it being used
right,
in a
right.
way that was going to be like to its peak? And so yeah, it's really cool, man, and it's fun to just kind of just rediscover something that you were familiar with to a certain point, and then to kind of get really sucked into it. So it's just been like
Mhm.
like tomorrow night gonna watch it Monday Night Raw, and that's be kind of started to become a little bit of my weekly routine. If
Sure,
even
yeah.
if I don't watch it live, just to kind of all right, tune into it or like you said, like kind of
Yeah.
follow it and stuff. But well, dude, I feel like we could probably just like continue talking about whatever and and
Yeah.
just keep going and going and going. But we'll probably wrap it up here. But before we do go and stuff, wanted to give you an opportunity, man, to just kind of tell people where to find you, man. Like I don't even think we really address like you stream, you create content, you do your
Yeah.
thing. Just tell people listening and watching, like, you know, how to find you, what you do, and yeah, go from there.
For, for sure. I'm JRattgaming. You can find me mostly on Twitch. That's like we said earlier, I've been at that for just about 4 years now.
Yeah.
I post a little, I'll post highlights on like YouTube and TikTok and stuff, but streaming's kind of the main place. JRattgaming is where you can find me. I'll pretend I made words appear there. Um,
I'll try
and
to do
yeah,
something for you.
I'm I'm generally live Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays whenever I can. Obviously, it's part-time gig for me, so sometimes life gets in the way, but those are the nights I try to get on. It's a good time. It's pretty chill. You know, I'm not one of those streamers that screams at you and, has to, jumps around the room and does stupid stuff. But I love talking. I love chatting with people, whether it's about the game I'm playing or other stuff, wrestling, sports, how Jordan Love's going to just ruin the NFL again. And I can't wait.
Whoa, Jordan Love. Yeah, he's doing his thing, dude.
I don't know how we did it
me.
again.
They
We did
surprised
it
me.
again.
It's wild, dude. Like giving him, he just needed an opportunity, man.
Did he ever?
So you're a Packers fan, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So how did it feel, weirdly, to see Aaron leave and then what happened in New York? Like as a Packers fan, where were you when all that stuff started happening? This just seeing how the year played out for him compared to what happened with you guys. Like
I was someone who wanted him gone a year earlier.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was time. I thought I didn't think we had the horses anymore. And I was like, let's clean break this. Let's give Jordan his shot now.
Yeah.
Like because when we had Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, I was like, get Brett out of here. It's done. Like his time is up. Sure, he's still got a little bit of juice left in the tank, but like you drafted this kid first round, play him.
Yeah.
It's been 3 years, play him. And Aaron turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
So like here, I don't know if we were all as convinced of Jordan Love, but like it was one of those things where I was like, all right, like Aaron, it doesn't look like we're going to get anywhere anymore. We keep losing in these NFC championship games. I think we're ready for this kid. Let's give him a shot. And to see him go to the Jets was funny because that's where Brett went.
Yeah.
That's comical more than anything else. But man, Jordan, that week 1, he came out against the Bears and torched them. And everybody went, all right, let's, we got, if you're going to be one of those hyperbolic types, that's our guy, done and done.
Yeah.
It took the whole season to get there, but man, he sure looks like he's got the tools. I don't know if he's going to be another Hall of Famer or anything, but we gotta put him on that second contract here right now.
Look, man, quarterback position is where you need it. It's where you got to have it, man. Look, I'm a Patriots fan right now. We're in a dilemma. I don't know what we're gonna probably do.
Are you ever?
Yeah, I know, man. I it's almost like funny to think about. I wonder if like in another timeline, Aaron Rodgers stays, but he still like snaps his Achilles for the Packers, and Jordan Love comes in regardless. So it's like it was gonna happen.
That was the only sad thing about this season is that because he didn't play, we got a Jets second round pick instead of their first round pick.
Oh,
so because it was contingent on him playing, I think 60% of the snaps.
Oh, dude, he played like not even 6 minutes.
Which he played. He didn't even play 6 snaps,
dude.
So,
like, I mean, and we don't have to get into like Aaron as a person. We were about to wrap up. I had to ask you real quick because it's just interesting because, man, yeah, Jordan's done his thing, and Aaron, I don't know, man. It's like the attention that the New York Jets had, the hype that they had, and I guess like if I was look, man, I watched Tom Brady walk out the door and go win a Super Bowl. I didn't know if you guys felt the same way. Like, yo, this guy's about to go to New York, and they're gonna have success. Like, and then the opposite happened, like legit worst
Right.
case scenario happens, and you're like, so I mean, were you just kind of like, oh, that sucks, or were you just like, yeah, man, that kind of sucks? Like where we're when Aaron goes down, and I'm not gonna judge you as a person, I'm gonna judge you as a fan. As a fan, were you just kind of like, damn, that could have been us? Like, where were you at when Aaron went down?
It
Like,
was less so that could have been us. It was more just like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. I
yeah,
can't believe that, like, we have this just nice, we have Jordan now and we gave them Aaron, and like, and I was one of those people that like, I I tend to like when it comes to like player team disputes,
mm-hmm.
I tend to lean player more. Teams sometimes feel way too corporate-y for me to want to
Yeah,
like I understand the players make plenty of money, but the teams make more.
yeah,
And
for sure.
so like,
Yeah,
so there was a lot of me that was like, man, that really sucks. But
oh,
also the second thought was, man, we're only going to get a second round pick out of that now.
oh, dude, yeah,
You know
and
what I
then
mean? I was like, it's like, all right, well, I guess there's that.
and then Zach Wilson's on the bench, like, damn it.
But it also saved us from having to see a weekly comparison between the two quarterbacks,
Oh
which
man,
nobody here wants to see. Like,
no, not at
it's
all.
completely unfair to Jordan. Yes, it's a good story. I get it, but like, just let the
No,
kid play.
but it happened to Zach Wilson. I mean, he's over there, and they just
Right,
constantly kept
right.
saying, "If we had Aaron, if Aaron was healthy, right, we wouldn't be."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I just like, dude, I don't know how. No wonder he was like, "I'm good. Like, I don't want to do this shit." Can't blame him.
Yeah.
Would you say, just real quick before we wrap up, that this year was the year of the Achilles? Like, it just seemed like even in the Super Bowl,
Man.
like, do you think that's just because football's changing and people are going for the lower body now because of all the pressure of going for the high tackles and concussions? That now it's like, yo, drag them down, go for the lower body. But now we're seeing, dude, think of the injuries this year, man.
Mhm.
This man was just hopping up on the sideline and like took a step, and what's that say about us? Are we gonna wake up tomorrow, go walk to the bathroom and snap our Achilles? Like, is there
You're
something that
talking
we're
Okay, you're talking to a guy who herniated a disc in his neck at age 30 because he woke up too quickly and snapped his head
oh
forward. Okay. I get like old man syndrome hit me earlier than it should hit anybody. All right. Having said that,
yeah, yeah.
I think it's a combination of things. They're overruling everything. They're going too crazy with the like number of things they try to outlaw.
Yeah.
Um and not necessarily outlawing the stuff that like they should be outlawing.
Mhm.
Things like cut blocks and stuff like that are actually like blowing out ACLs is like, really, like we're letting that slide. But also it's this severe limitation of preseason practices and like training
Mm.
camp that I think is really changing a lot. I think it's hurting like the build, to get your body up into
Yeah.
that for the
Yeah, I'm
season.
picking up what you're putting down.
And when you're a guy like Aaron Rodgers who like isn't going to do all the optional stuff, and is going to not that he doesn't work hard, but he's going to attend like the bare minimum of the stuff with the team.
And getting older.
And age has something to do with
Yeah.
it too. Like
Yeah.
it's just it's hard to not correlate these things. I know it could
Mhm.
be causation, not correlation, but like it's getting harder to justify some of this. But I don't know how you go back. I don't know how you tell the players, hey, you got to practice more now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's hard.
Especially when you're adding a 17th game. You know what I mean? Like that's you took from practice to give to another game, so the players are still kind of doing the
I
same
think
thing.
I think it's just going to take a couple seasons. If we see it consistently happen, they will more than likely somebody's going to be like, obviously, it's these things we have to
Mhm.
adjust. But
Yeah.
now we'll see. Like when they look at the money that they get from these networks and stuff to have that extra game. Look, man, at the station that I work at, like I mean, it was pretty much like, yeah, NFL makes
Oh yeah.
Nah.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So to convince these people that you will, it's like everything that we're talking about is about quality over quantity. It's like I'd rather have less of a season where everyone's healthy or has hopefully more potential because certain
Mhm.
things have been addressed and adapted. I'd rather have that than just a long season where half the teams have backup quarterbacks in and so's banged up. And even if they make it through the regular season, they get to the playoffs and they're banged up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I don't want to see that. Like that,
It's not, it's less about talent, it's a war of attrition. And
right?
like that's not that ain't it.
Hmm. That's
That
not,
ain't it.
man. Well, man, well, before we go for the official and the second time, I want to make sure that we also plug your stuff again, man. I really appreciate you coming on
Yeah.
this episode and talking. I'd love to have you back and talk about
Yeah, for
whatever.
sure.
And I really hope that people check out your channel on Twitch and check out everything you do. You're pretty active on socials. That's really,
Try
it's
to
kind
be.
of wild. Like I feel like me and you have like lived in the same ecosystems or, like drove by and like have like realized like, oh yeah, we kind of like some of the same things. And then I was like,
Mhm.
man, like, let me see if he'd be down to jump on the podcast and just have a
Yeah.
conversation. So this has been real fun, man. I really appreciate you. So one last time before we go, man, just tell people where they can find you. And like I told you, and I'm gonna tell people listening, watching right now, the links to everything that he's about to mention will be found in the description of this episode or video. So, yeah, like I said, thank you once again, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. JRattgaming on Twitch. That's the main place to find me. Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, basically like 7 p.m. Central. That's when we hop on. I'm usually on for a few hours. So put me on while you're going to bed. Put me on, come chat, hang out. Like I said, like interaction's my favorite part of this. That's why like this format's great. I'd love to be back on this again.
Hell
And
yeah.
yeah, have a
Cool.
good night, all.
Hey, thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.
Wonder Soul.
Wonder Soul.